A cluttered mind will always create a complicated life, but a clear mind, that's where real power begins. Right now, your mind is carrying way too much. You feel it, the overthinking, the stress, the constant mental noise that never seems to turn off. Even when your body is at rest, your brain is still running. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're mentally overloaded, and until you fix that, no goal, no habit, no life upgrade will truly stick. This isn't just another feel-good video telling you to stay positive, this is your wake-up call. If your thoughts have been heavy, if your focus is all over the place, if you keep starting and stopping because you feel stuck or burnt out, this video is the reset your mind needs. Real talk, real solutions, step by step, simple powerful changes that clear your thinking, strengthen your discipline, and get you back in control. We're breaking down why you feel off, why you procrastinate, why you get distracted easily, and what to do about it. You'll understand how to stop escaping your emotions, how to handle chaos, how to stop doubting yourself, and how to build the kind of mindset that doesn't just survive, but leads. This isn't about being perfect, it's about finally feeling free in your own mind. If you've ever said, "I know what to do, I just can't seem to do it," then this is for you. Don't scroll away, don't click off. What you hear in the next few minutes can completely shift how you think, how you feel, and how you show up every single day. This is how to detox your mind, and once you start, your old patterns won't survive the new you. Stay until the end, watch it all the way through. The clarity you've been chasing starts right here. Chapter 1, You're not lazy, you're mentally overloaded. You don't have a laziness problem. You don't lack ambition. You're not falling behind because you're incapable. The truth is, your mind is carrying too much, and nobody ever taught you how to unload it. That's what's been holding you back. It's not your character, it's not your desire, it's the weight of mental chaos that's been running your life from the shadows. Right now, if you feel tired no matter how much you sleep, if you struggle to finish simple tasks, if your energy comes in short bursts and fades before you make real progress, then you need to hear this: you're not broken, you're overloaded. And when your mind is flooded, your body shuts down. You scroll, you stall, you wait for the motivation to hit you like a lightning bolt, but it never does. You've convinced yourself that you're just lazy, that you just don't have the drive others seem to have, but deep down, you know that's not the truth. You've seen yourself push through things before, you've had moments when you were unstoppable. The fire's not gone, it's just buried beneath the noise. And until you clear that noise, nothing's going to change. Mental overload doesn't scream at you, it creeps in silently. It builds up with every unfinished task you tell yourself you'll get back to. It multiplies with every notification, every conversation you didn't really want to have, every decision you forced yourself to make without clarity. Your mind becomes a battlefield, not because you're weak, but because you're constantly under attack by distractions, expectations, regrets, and uncertainty. That's the kind of war no one sees. It doesn't leave bruises on your body, but it bruises your drive, your vision, your self-respect. And when that happens, you don't feel like showing up for your goals, you feel like hiding, you feel like disappearing. That's not laziness, that's survival. The problem is, we live in a world that praises hustle and punishes stillness. You're expected to do more, know more, respond faster, chase harder, and in the middle of that race, nobody tells you how to reset your mind. Nobody tells you that you have limits, that even the strongest minds break down without rest. So you keep going, pretending you're okay, pushing through brain fog and emotional exhaustion until your motivation crumbles. And then what happens? You judge yourself. You say, "I'm lazy." You say, "Maybe I just don't want it bad enough." You start comparing yourself to people who are just better at pretending they're fine. You don't see their breakdowns, you don't see their mental crashes, you only see their filtered wins, and that becomes your measuring stick. That's the lie. You need to understand something powerful right now: clarity creates energy. When you're clear, you move with purpose. You don't hesitate, you don't waste hours thinking about what you should be doing, you just do it. But when your mind is cluttered, even the smallest task feels like climbing a mountain. It's not the work that's hard, it's the mental noise around the work that drains you. That's why you find yourself doing everything except what actually matters. You clean your room instead of writing that proposal, you scroll endlessly instead of opening that book. You distract yourself because doing the real thing feels too heavy. That weight, that's your mind overloaded with guilt, pressure, and mental tabs that never got closed. You don't need more motivation, you need fewer distractions. You don't need more time, you need less mental junk stealing your focus. Imagine if every morning you woke up and your mind was light, no guilt from yesterday, no anxiety about tomorrow, just today, clear and calm. You'd move differently. You'd speak with certainty. You'd act without overthinking every step. That's what happens when your mind is detoxed. That's what happens when you stop feeding your brain 10 different priorities and expect it to stay sharp. But here's the hard part: it starts with subtraction. It starts with being honest about what's weighing you down. Look around, look at what's constantly pulling at your attention. Is it your phone? Is it toxic relationships? Is it the pressure to be everything for everyone? You can't detox your mind without changing what your mind is exposed to every single day. You can't expect peace while bathing in chaos. You have to create space, you have to create silence, you have to learn how to be unavailable for everything that drains you. That means turning your phone off for an hour a day and being okay with not knowing what the rest of the world is doing. That means saying no to things that don't serve your growth, even if they feel familiar. That means waking up and doing the hardest task first, before your brain has a chance to talk you out of it. And it means respecting your mind the way you would respect a high-performance machine, because that's what it is. But even the best machines break down when overused. The moment you stop blaming yourself for being lazy and start recognizing that your brain is begging for stillness, everything changes. Your energy returns, your focus sharpens, your confidence comes back. You stop wasting time judging yourself and start using that time to move forward. That's the difference between guilt and growth. Guilt holds you in the past, growth helps you move forward one clear step at a time. If you want to make progress, stop trying to do it all at once. Focus on one thing. Clear the noise. Get brutally honest about what you can remove from your life today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. If your mind is overloaded, the answer isn't to add more pressure, it's to cut through the clutter and simplify. That's when your power returns. And let's make one thing clear right now: progress doesn't require perfect days, it requires clarity, consistency, and courage. Courage to step away from distractions, courage to choose the hard thing over the easy escape, courage to believe that you're not lazy, you're capable, powerful, and ready to rise once your mind is free. Your mind is not your enemy, it's not fighting you, it's fighting everything you've allowed in that doesn't belong: the opinions, the noise, the pressure, the past. When you clear it, even just a little, you'll feel the difference in your body. You'll feel lighter, you'll breathe deeper, you'll want to move again. That's not laziness disappearing, that's clarity taking its place. So here is the truth: you are not lazy, you are tired of carrying thoughts that don't belong to you. You are done living under the weight of unmade decisions. You are exhausted from trying to please everyone except yourself, and that ends now. You're here because something inside you knows it's time. Chapter 2, Your thoughts are lying to you. The most dangerous lies aren't the ones people tell you, it's the ones your own mind whispers when no one else is around. The quiet ones, the ones that sound like truth, the ones that tell you you're not good enough, not ready, not strong enough, not smart enough, not worthy of something better. And if no one interrupts those thoughts, if you never challenge them, they start to feel real. You live under the weight of them. You believe you're stuck, not because you actually are, but because your thoughts convinced you of a limitation that doesn't even exist. And if you let those lies go unchecked long enough, they don't just affect what you think, they affect how you live. They affect what you try, who you talk to, what you believe you deserve, and ultimately, who you become. Let's get one thing straight right now, your mind is not designed to keep you happy, it's designed to keep you safe. That means your brain is constantly looking for what could go wrong, scanning for danger, protecting you from risk, even if that risk is just embarrassment or uncertainty. That's how self-doubt starts, that's how fear builds, that's how anxiety grows roots, not because you're broken, but because your brain is trying to protect you with outdated programming. And when that programming goes unchallenged, it becomes the lens you see yourself through. You don't just have doubtful thoughts, you start becoming a doubtful person. You don't just feel insecure, you start believing that's who you are. And that's where the damage happens, not because you aren't capable, but because your thoughts have become your prison guard. You could have the talent, you could have the skills, you could have the opportunity, but if your thoughts are against you, you will self-sabotage. You'll shrink in rooms you were born to stand tall in, you'll stay quiet when your voice is needed, you'll hesitate when you should be moving. That's the power of your mind, and the scariest part, it never yells, it whispers. It sounds like your own voice. That's why it's so convincing, because when your thoughts lie to you, they don't feel like lies, they feel like truth wrapped in your own tone. This is why you have to wake up and take control of your inner narrative, because if you don't lead your mind, it will lead you somewhere you never wanted to go. If you don't challenge the lies, you'll end up building your life around them. You'll settle in relationships that drain you, you'll avoid risks that could transform you, you'll trade your potential for comfort, your future for fear. And the scariest part is, you'll call that normal, you'll call that, just how I am. But that's not who you are, that's who your thoughts tricked you into becoming. You have to realize your mind is a constant conversation. Every moment of every day, you are talking to yourself. You're narrating your experiences, you're interpreting your life, you're assigning meaning to everything. And if you don't take control of that internal dialogue, it will destroy you from the inside out. It will convince you that failure is final, that rejection means you're not enough, that discomfort is danger, that change is a threat, that growth is too risky. But none of that is real, it's just fear in disguise, it's just your thoughts trying to keep you inside the cage they've built for you. The truth is, most of the limitations you think you have are just thoughts you've repeated so many times they've hardened into beliefs. Thoughts like, I'm not disciplined, I always mess things up, nothing ever works out for me, I'm just not a confident person. These aren't facts, these are mental habits, and habits can be broken. But you have to decide that you're no longer going to be bullied by your own mind. You have to get aggressive about changing the script, not just positive thinking, not just surface-level affirmations, real ground-level discipline, self-leadership. That means when a thought shows up and tries to hold you back, you stop and ask, is this true? Is this useful? Is this leading me where I want to go? And if it's not, you rewrite it, you drop it, you move forward without it. Because here's the thing, your thoughts are not commands, they are suggestions. You do not have to obey them. Just because you think something doesn't mean it deserves your energy. Your power comes from the ability to choose your response, to override the noise, to decide what story you're going to live by. And the best part, the more you practice this, the stronger you get. You train your mind like a muscle. At first, it's hard, the lies are loud, they feel automatic. But over time, with repetition and awareness, you start to reclaim your power. You stop reacting to every thought like it's a signal from the universe. You slow down, you get calm, you observe. And from that place of awareness, you act, not from fear, not from insecurity, but from clarity. And that's where your life begins to change, because when your inner world becomes clean and clear, your outer world follows. You make better decisions, you speak with confidence, you stop shrinking to make other people comfortable, you stop living in the shadow of your fears, you stop apologizing for your own ambition, you stop hiding behind doubt. You become who you were meant to be, not because you added something new to your life, but because you finally stopped letting your thoughts lie to you. It's time to remind yourself that you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. You are the one who gets to choose what to believe, what to ignore, and what to act on. You are the one who gets to decide if this is the chapter where your story gets smaller, or the one where it finally begins to expand. You are not too late, you are not too damaged, you are not too far behind. Those are all lies your mind tells you to keep you still, and today is the day you stop listening. You can choose a new thought right now. You can choose to believe in your ability to grow. You can choose to believe that your past does not define your future. You can choose to believe that discomfort is part of your rise, not a reason to quit. You can choose to believe that you are worthy of more, not someday, not when you fix everything, but now. You can choose to walk into the next version of yourself without waiting for your thoughts to give you permission. Because if you wait for your thoughts to always feel good, you'll stay stuck. But if you move anyway, if you take action even while the fear is there, something powerful happens, your thoughts begin to shift. Your mind starts to adapt to your new direction, and the lies get quieter. So here's your truth, you are not what your thoughts say on a bad day. You are not your doubts, you are not your fears, you are not your worst moment. You are the one who rises, you are the one who decides, you are the one who leads. And when you take that power back, your mind no longer controls your life, you do. Chapter 3, You can't grow until you stop escaping the life you want, the person you know you're capable of becoming, the peace you crave, it's all sitting behind one hard truth, you have to face. You cannot grow while you keep running from yourself. You can't evolve when every time it gets uncomfortable, you disappear into distraction. You can't become stronger when you treat every hard moment like a signal to escape. Growth doesn't happen in convenience, growth lives in the resistance you're trying to avoid. And until you stop escaping, until you choose to stay in the discomfort long enough to learn from it, nothing changes. This world makes it so easy to run. The moment life gets too quiet, your phone is in your hand. The moment you feel anxious, you're reaching for food, for noise, for someone to talk to, anyone or anything that can pull you out of the moment. And you think it's harmless, you think it's just how life works now. But what's really happening is deeper, you're training your brain to believe that discomfort is danger. You're teaching yourself that pain must be avoided. You're building a habit of mentally checking out the second things don't feel perfect. And that habit becomes a prison. You don't face the fear, you scroll past it. You don't sit with sadness, you mute it with music. You don't listen to what your soul is trying to say because the volume of escape is always louder. What no one tells you is that your breakthrough is often hidden inside the exact emotion you're trying to run away from. Your healing lives in the silence you keep avoiding. Your clarity shows up in the quiet, but it only reveals itself when you stop distracting yourself long enough to hear it. Escaping feels good in the short term, but it steals your long-term peace. It gives you momentary relief but robs you of self-respect. Because deep down, even if no one sees you avoiding your life, you see it. And that inner knowing, that guilt you carry, it adds up. It weighs on your confidence, it shows up in your lack of progress, it bleeds into your relationships. And eventually, it becomes your default setting. You were not born to numb yourself, you were not built to shrink away from every challenge. You were made to rise, you were built to face, to feel, and to overcome. But when you make a habit out of escaping the hard parts of life, you rob yourself of your own power. You never give yourself the chance to prove how capable you really are. You never develop the muscle of mental strength because every time you hit a wall, you look for the nearest exit instead of learning how to climb. But here's the thing, it's not about being fearless. It's not about becoming some emotionally detached robot who never struggles. It's about learning to stay. Stay when it's awkward, stay when it's boring, stay when it's painful, stay when your old self would have already checked out. Because that's where the transformation happens, when you feel the urge to escape and you don't. When you sit in the discomfort and breathe through it. When you hear your old thoughts and refuse to follow them. That's when your brain starts to change, that's when your nervous system starts to adapt, that's when the old cycle finally breaks. You can't build a strong mind while living in constant escape mode. The gym doesn't work if you leave halfway through every set, the mind doesn't grow if you exit every challenge before you finish it. Every time you run from discomfort, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle it. But every time you stay, every time you face it, you send a new message to your brain: I am strong enough, I can do hard things, I don't need to be rescued from my own emotions. And that message compounds, that message starts to build a new identity. That's how confidence is born, not from perfection, but from presence. Sit with the craving instead of giving in, sit with the boredom instead of picking up your phone, sit with the sadness instead of rushing to feel better. You'll start to notice something. You'll realize these emotions don't destroy you, you'll realize they pass, you'll realize that growth lives on the other side of what you've been avoiding. And slowly, your mind begins to trust you again, your body begins to calm, your soul begins to speak. But only when you stop running, only when you stop feeding the addiction to escape. It takes strength to feel, it takes discipline to be present, it takes real courage to look at yourself with honest eyes and say, no more hiding, no more numbing, no more disappearing when things get real. That moment, that decision, that's where everything starts to change. Because when you stop escaping, you stop delaying your own potential, you stop postponing your greatness, you stop pressing pause on your growth, and you finally give yourself permission to rise. You already know the truth, you already know what you've been avoiding. You already know the habits that steal your focus, you know the people who drain your energy, you know the patterns that leave you stuck. And this isn't about shame, this isn't about guilt, this is about honesty. This is about owning the fact that real change doesn't happen through shortcuts or comfort. Real change is born in stillness, in discipline, in presence. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but so is staying stuck. So is wasting another year doing the same thing. So is carrying the regret of a life that could have been. Right now, wherever you are, you get to make a new choice. You don't have to escape, you don't have to distract, you don't have to run. You can sit with it, you can feel it, you can learn from it, and then you can rise through it. Because the truth is, nothing in your life gets better until you stop running from the parts of yourself that need the most attention. Let the discomfort teach you, let the boredom lead you to clarity, let the silence show you what really matters, let the pain bring you closer to your truth. You don't need more stimulation, you need more presence, you need more patience, you need more truth. And you already have everything you need to give that to yourself. But it starts now, it starts by choosing to stay, it starts by deciding that your growth is worth more than your escape. So next time the urge hits you to scroll, to numb, to check out, pause. Breathe. Stay. Watch what happens when you stop running from your own life. That's when the real transformation begins, that's when you take your power back, that's when you finally become the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 4, If you're not leading your mind, it's leading you. The day you take control of your mind is the day everything in your life starts to shift. Not gradually, not someday, right now. The moment you realize that your thoughts are not your master but your tool, that's the moment you stop living like a passenger in your own life. And here's what nobody tells you loud enough: you either lead your mind, or your mind leads you somewhere you don't want to go. That's not poetic, that's real. If you don't wake up every day with intention, if you don't set the tone, if you don't take command of your focus, your mind will run wild. It will wander into fear, into self-doubt, into anger, comparison, and distraction. And it will keep dragging you along with it until one day you look up and don't even recognize the person you've become. Your mind doesn't ask for your permission before it creates stories, it doesn't wait until you're ready to feel grounded or stable. If you let it, it will pick up everything around you: stress, noise, other people's opinions, old fears, and it'll throw it all at you before you even brush your teeth in the morning. That's why the first thought you have in the day matters, that's why the first hour sets the tone. Because if you start your day with no direction, your mind will default to old patterns. And those patterns are usually built on survival, not purpose. They're built on reacting to life, not creating it. When you're not leading your mind, you start reacting to everything. One negative comment ruins your whole mood, one moment of discomfort sends you spiraling. You wake up and check your phone before you check in with yourself, and suddenly you're caught in a storm of messages, content, headlines, and opinions that weren't even yours to begin with. You go from one thing to the next, not because you chose it, but because your mind got pulled in 5 different directions before you even had time to think. And now you're behind, you're stressed, you're frustrated, and you wonder why you feel off all day. This isn't just about mindset, this is about your entire life. The way you think determines how you feel, how you behave, how you respond, how you show up in relationships, and how you chase your goals. Every part of your reality is shaped by your mental patterns. And if you let those patterns stay on autopilot, you're gambling with your future. You're hoping that things will somehow fall into place while your mind is running loops of fear and indecision. But hope is not a strategy, and your mind doesn't become strong by accident. It becomes strong when you decide to take control. Think about this: every successful, grounded, focused person you've ever admired didn't get there because they never had fear or doubt. They got there because they refused to let those things lead the way. They woke up and said, "This is what I'm doing today, this is what I believe, this is what I will focus on." And then they repeated that every single day until it became their default setting. Not because they had better circumstances, but because they practiced mental leadership. You have to start doing the same. That means you don't just roll into your day, you wake up and you take ownership. You decide what you're going to think, you decide what matters, you remind yourself of your vision, you remind yourself of your values. You take your power back. Because if you don't do that, if you don't intentionally lead your mind will pull from anything and everything around it. It will grab your past, it will grab your insecurities, it will grab every memory of failure, every reason to procrastinate, and every excuse it can find to keep you small. And then it will act like it's doing you a favor by keeping you safe. But playing small doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you stuck, it keeps you silent, it keeps you stressed and tired and disconnected from the life you're capable of living. Your mind will convince you that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that the timing isn't right. And those lies will feel real because you've never challenged them. But today is the day that changes. Because from this moment forward, you are no longer the follower of your mind, you are its leader, you are its commander. You are the one who gets to decide what your focus will be, what your story will be, what your future will look like. And don't wait for the perfect moment to start, don't wait until your mind feels calm or your circumstances are easy. You lead anyway. You wake up and lead even when you feel tired, you lead when your mind is messy, you lead through the doubt. Because leadership isn't about waiting, it's about choosing. Choosing to rise above the noise, choosing to say, no, that's not the thought I'm feeding today, choosing to bring yourself back to center again and again, no matter how many times your mind tries to pull you off course. You're not just building a better life, you're building a better relationship with your mind. A relationship where you are the one in charge. A relationship where you don't obey every thought that shows up, but where you question, where you filter, where you align every thought with your mission, your peace, and your purpose. Because a powerful mind doesn't come from avoiding challenges, it comes from learning how to direct your thoughts when challenges show up. It comes from knowing that just because your mind is busy doesn't mean it's right, just because it's loud doesn't mean it's wise, just because it's scared doesn't mean it's protecting you. You lead with clarity, you lead with intention, you lead with vision. You don't lead by accident, you don't let your emotions take the wheel, you don't let fear set your pace. Because you've been down that road, and it never leads anywhere new. But today, you're choosing different. Today, you're choosing discipline over reaction, today, you're choosing presence over panic, today, you're choosing to lead your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. And the beautiful part, the more you lead, the quieter the chaos becomes. The more you lead, the stronger your confidence gets. The more you lead, the more your actions match your values. And the people around you notice, your energy shifts, your results shift, your entire life begins to take shape in the direction of your thoughts. But not just any thoughts, the thoughts you choose, the thoughts you lead, the thoughts you've trained to serve your purpose. So remember this, if you're not leading your mind, it's leading you. And if it's leading you, it's not thinking about your goals, it's thinking about your fears. It's not thinking about your future, it's replaying your past. That's why your leadership matters, that's why your discipline matters, and that's why today is the perfect day to take the wheel back and start leading like your potential depends on it, because it does. Chapter 5. You're addicted to chaos because it feels familiar. You don't need more motivation, you don't need more time, you don't even need more knowledge. What you need is peace. But here's the truth that's going to hit hard, peace feels unfamiliar, and your mind craves what it knows, not what's good for you. That's why chaos keeps finding you. That's why you always end up in drama you didn't ask for. That's why your life feels like one emotional emergency after another, even when nothing major is actually going wrong. Because chaos doesn't need a reason to exist in your life, it only needs a routine. And if you've lived long enough with mental chaos, emotional intensity, constant pressure, and unpredictable energy, then your brain has started to believe that's your normal. So even when things start to get calm, you self-sabotage. Not because you hate peace, but because peace feels like a threat to the version of you that only knows how to function in noise. What no one talks about enough is how deeply our nervous system becomes wired to crave intensity. Not just external chaos, but internal chaos too. You're not just addicted to what happens around you, you're addicted to the mental habits you've built, overthinking, worrying, rushing, solving imaginary problems that haven't even happened yet, responding to people who don't deserve your time, replaying arguments in your head, chasing validation from people who don't understand you. It's not just toxic environments you keep falling into, it's the need to feel on edge because that edge is where you've always survived. And now, survival feels safer than stillness. That's why your life can look okay on the outside, but inside, you're always on alert. It's like your mind is waiting for something to go wrong, like if things are too quiet, something must be off. That's not intuition, that's conditioning. That's what happens when chaos becomes your comfort zone. You start mistaking peace for boredom, you start mistaking calm for danger. And you don't even realize it. You pick fights with people who love you, you create problems when none exist, you overanalyze until something breaks. Because that emotional spike, that internal roller coaster, it feels familiar, it feels like home. And we all run toward what feels like home, even if it's burning us from the inside. Now, this is where things shift, the moment you realize that your addiction to chaos is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to break. Because you can't build a peaceful life with a mind that craves disruption. You can't have emotional clarity when you keep feeding emotional chaos. And if you don't interrupt that cycle, your peace will always be temporary. You'll get a taste of it, and then your brain will pull you right back to what it knows, familiar stress, familiar patterns, familiar pain. So the work is this: you have to retrain your nervous system to feel safe and calm. You have to let go of the identity that's been shaped by surviving. You have to choose peace even when it feels uncomfortable. And at first, it will. Stillness will feel strange, quiet will feel boring. You'll think something is missing, you'll feel the urge to go back to the noise. But this time, don't. This time, sit in the stillness long enough for your body to understand it's not in danger. Sit in the calm long enough to hear your own thoughts without judgment. Let your system detox from the constant adrenaline you've been living on for years. Because once you do that, once you let your nervous system know that peace is not a threat, it will stop fighting it. And when that happens, you'll start making decisions from alignment, not anxiety. You'll stop responding to every notification like it's life or death, you'll stop needing other people's chaos to feel alive, you'll stop creating drama in your own mind just to feel something. And you'll start creating space, mental space, emotional space, spiritual space, for what actually matters. Because when your mind is addicted to chaos, everything becomes a crisis. But when your mind is rooted in peace, you finally get the clarity to ask, does this even deserve my attention? That's power, that's growth, that's freedom. But don't expect the old you to let go without a fight. That version of you that's addicted to stress, that thrives in dysfunction, that finds comfort in overthinking, it will resist. It will try to pull you back. It will tell you this new peace is fake, this new calm is boring, that you need to be busy or stressed or urgent to be productive. That's the withdrawal, that's the detox. And if you can get through that, if you can push through the temptation to go back to chaos, you will experience a level of inner strength you've never felt before. Because that strength doesn't come from doing more, it comes from being still and not running from it. It comes from watching your triggers rise and choosing not to react. It comes from breathing deeply when your old self would have already exploded. That's leadership, that's emotional mastery, that's you becoming the version of yourself that doesn't just talk about peace, but lives it. You don't need to fix everything at once, you just need to become aware. Notice when you're creating problems just to feel in control, notice when you're responding to energy that doesn't belong to you, notice when you're chasing intensity instead of depth. That awareness alone breaks the spell. And once the spell is broken, you begin to see just how much power you've given away to things that were never meant to hold it. You are not broken, you are not toxic, you are not damaged beyond repair. You are wired for survival, and now it's time to rewire for peace. You are allowed to be calm, you are allowed to live without constant pressure, you are allowed to say no to chaos, even if it comes from people you love. You are allowed to protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Every time you choose peace over panic, every time you choose stillness over stimulation, every time you choose clarity over noise, you are building a new default setting. One that doesn't need chaos to feel alive, one that doesn't need drama to feel connected, one that doesn't need pressure to feel purpose. So next time life slows down and your old self starts pulling you back into that storm, remind yourself that you're done surviving. You're done performing for the noise. You're done sacrificing your peace for the thrill of dysfunction. Because now you've seen what it's doing to you, you've felt the weight of it, and you're ready to be free. Free to build a life that feels light, focused, and intentional. A life where peace is not a break from the chaos, but the standard. And when that becomes your standard, you won't settle for anything less. Chapter 6. You can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. Your breakthrough will never come from the place that broke you. Read that again. You cannot grow in soil that keeps poisoning your roots. You can't reach for peace in a space that feeds your stress. You can't evolve into your best self if you keep standing in the middle of everything that made you question your worth in the first place. No matter how strong you think you are, no matter how much you want to push through it, if your environment is toxic, mentally, emotionally, or energetically, it will pull you back down every time you try to rise. And it won't always be loud, it won't always be obvious. Sometimes the most dangerous environment is the one that seems harmless because you've gotten used to it. It could be the room that drains your energy the second you walk into it. It could be the friend who jokes about your goals like they're not real. It could be the family member who calls you selfish every time you set a boundary. It could be your routine that keeps you overwhelmed. It could be the desk you sit at that's cluttered with old stress. It could be the notifications that flood your phone before you even drink water in the morning. It could be the conversations that feel normal because you've never known anything else, even though every time you have them, you feel smaller, quieter, more tired. These things might not seem like much on the surface, but over time, they condition your mind to settle, to stay stuck, to believe that maybe this is just who you are. But that's the lie. That's the illusion that keeps people cycling through the same pain over and over. Because the truth is, you can do the inner work, you can read the books, you can meditate, journal, heal, and grow. But if the space around you doesn't support the version of you that you're becoming, you'll start to shrink back down. Not because you're weak, not because you don't want it bad enough, but because your environment matters more than you think. It's like trying to recover from smoke damage while still living inside the burning building. You start to feel hopeless, you start to think maybe healing isn't possible. But healing is possible, just not in the place that keeps wounding you. So the first step is honesty, brutal, raw, unfiltered honesty. You have to ask yourself, what around me is feeding the version of me I'm trying to leave behind? And sometimes, that question leads to answers that hurt. Because maybe the people you love the most are the ones pulling you back. Maybe the job that pays the bills is costing you your mental health. Maybe the city you live in, the routine you follow, the energy you allow, maybe none of it is built to support who you want to become. That kind of realization can feel heavy, but don't run from it. Sit with it, let it wake you up. Because healing starts when you stop pretending that everything's fine. Growth starts when you stop making excuses for why you're still stuck. And no, you don't have to burn your whole life down overnight, but you do have to shift something. Maybe it's the room you work in, maybe it's the time of day you wake up, maybe it's how often you see certain people, maybe it's deleting the app that keeps you comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel, maybe it's saying no more often, maybe it's finally telling someone the truth. Small changes, honest ones, why? Ones that protect your peace and prioritize your healing. And this is important. You are not wrong for outgrowing the people and places that once felt like home. You are not heartless for choosing peace over familiarity. You are not selfish for walking away from things that no longer serve your future. In fact, that's one of the highest forms of self-respect, choosing to protect your growth even when it makes other people uncomfortable. Because healing is not always soft. Sometimes healing looks like distance, sometimes healing looks like silence, sometimes healing looks like walking alone for a while because the people around you don't understand where you're going. But when you make those changes, when you start creating an environment that matches your healing, you'll feel it. You'll feel your nervous system start to relax, you'll feel your energy come back, you'll stop doubting yourself so much, you'll start waking up with clarity, you'll start making decisions that align with your vision, not your fear. And that momentum, that's everything. That's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you're no longer constantly triggered, constantly drained, constantly fighting battles that don't even belong to you. You deserve to wake up in a space that feels safe. You deserve to live around people who want to see you win, not compete with your progress. You deserve to create routines that nourish you, not exhaust you. You deserve to feel calm in your own body, you deserve to feel free in your own mind. And if that means changing your environment, then change it. Don't wait for it to magically transform, don't wait for permission, don't wait until it becomes unbearable. The sooner you make the shift, the sooner your healing becomes real, not a dream, not a hope, but a reality that you live in every single day. It doesn't make you disloyal to choose a better path, it doesn't make you fake to want something more. Growth demands new ground, healing needs healthy soil, and peace requires protection. If you're going to detox your mind, you have to stop returning to what made you sick. You have to stop convincing yourself that you can heal in chaos. You can't, and you know that now. So take the steps, one by one. Build a space that feels light, curate your energy like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Surround yourself with voices that uplift you, with routines that ground you, with habits that clear your mind. And remind yourself every single day that you're not running away from your old life, you're walking toward a new one, one that finally makes space for the peace, the power, and the purpose you've always deserved. Chapter 7, Self-doubt is a program, not a personality. You are not broken, you are not weak, you are not someone who just lacks confidence. And no, you weren't born with less belief in yourself than everyone else around you. The truth is much simpler but also more powerful than what you've been told your whole life. Your self-doubt isn't your personality, it's a mental program that was installed without your permission. It's a system, a script, a repetitive loop that's been playing in your head for so long that you've mistaken it for who you are. But it's not who you are, it's a pattern. It's a voice you've been listening to for years, but the moment you choose to challenge it, you begin to reclaim your real identity, the identity that existed before the world convinced you that you weren't enough. And here's what makes this so important to understand: when you believe that self-doubt is a part of who you are, you stop fighting it. You start building your life around it. You start saying no to things that you're actually capable of doing, you start talking yourself out of taking the risks that could change everything, you stay quiet when you should speak, you settle when you should demand more. Not because you lack potential, but because you've been programmed to believe that your potential isn't safe to trust, that it's a fantasy, that it's something meant for other people but not for you. But that's the lie, that's the system that needs to be shut down and rewritten. Let's break it all the way down. Self-doubt is learned. You weren't born doubting yourself. No baby comes into the world feeling insecure. That came later. Maybe from a parent who criticized more than they praised, maybe from a teacher who made you feel small, maybe from a friend who made fun of your dreams, maybe from failure after failure that no one helped you process. And little by little, you started to believe the story that you weren't good enough, that you weren't smart enough, that you were too much or not enough or unqualified or unlucky. That story got repeated in your mind until it became your truth, not because it was true, but because it was repeated. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It takes whatever is repeated and stores it as familiar, and the familiar becomes your default. So if doubt was what you heard, what you saw, what you felt, then doubt became your baseline. You can dress it up, you can distract from it, but it lives underneath the surface until you rewrite it. And the only way to rewrite it is to stop treating it like your identity and start treating it like what it really is, a glitch in the code, a bug in the system, one that you didn't install but one you have the power to delete. You don't have to believe every voice in your head. Just because it's loud doesn't mean it's right, just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's true. The voice of self-doubt isn't some wise part of you trying to protect you from failure, it's the old program trying to keep you stuck in a life that feels safe, predictable, and small. But you were not built to live small, you were not built to exist in the shadows of your own dreams. You were made to expand, to explore, to take up space. And that expansion only begins when you finally see self-doubt for what it really is, not a truth, but a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Not overnight, not with a single motivational quote, but with a decision, a daily decision to stop feeding the narrative that you aren't ready, that you aren't capable, that you don't have what it takes. You do, you always did, you just haven't had the environment, the belief system, or the mental structure that reminds you of that every day. But that changes now, because now you know, now you see the game. You understand that self-doubt isn't the problem, it's the result of a system that was built to keep you from taking control. And once you see the system, you stop being a victim of it. So here's what happens when you take your power back. You stop asking for permission to believe in yourself, you stop waiting for the perfect moment to act, you stop negotiating with your fears before making a decision, you stop needing validation from people who don't even understand the vision you're chasing. You begin to move, not because you have all the answers, but because you no longer believe the lie that says you need to be perfect before you begin. Every time you act in spite of doubt, you weaken its grip. Every time you speak up when your voice shakes, you write new code. Every time you make a move without knowing how it's all going to work out, you train your mind to trust you again. And that trust, that belief, that inner certainty, it doesn't come from avoiding failure, it comes from surviving it. It comes from proving to yourself that even if you fall, you won't break, even if it doesn't go as planned, you'll be okay. That's how confidence is built, not from perfection, not from applause, but from choosing to show up over and over again until self-doubt has no choice but to back down. And the most powerful part, you don't need to eliminate self-doubt completely, you just need to stop obeying it. Let it be there, let it talk, but don't let it drive, don't let it dictate the decisions that shape your future. Because the more you lead, the more you move, the more you prove to yourself that you are not your doubt, the quieter it becomes. And eventually, it just becomes noise, background noise that can't touch your purpose. You don't need to become a different person, you don't need to wait until you feel more ready. You are already enough, you are already equipped, you are already strong. The only thing in your way is an old program that's been lying to you long enough, and now you see it for what it is. Now you're ready to rewrite the story, not someday, not when you feel more confident, right now, as you are. Chapter 8, You're not behind, you're distracted, you're not falling behind, you're not late, you're not lost. You're just buried under layers of noise, notifications, comparison, and distractions that have pulled your focus away from your own path. The truth is, you're not off track, you've just forgotten how to hear your own voice. You've been so busy watching everyone else, trying to keep up with timelines that were never meant for you, trying to match speeds that don't even make sense for your purpose. But none of that is real, it's noise, it's illusion. And the second you block it out, even for a moment, something incredible happens, clarity returns, direction comes back, and with it, a deep, grounded reminder that you were never behind, you were just disconnected from your own rhythm. This is what the world doesn't want you to see. Distraction isn't just a random habit, it's a system, a trap, a constant stream of content, opinions, urgency, and pressure designed to pull your attention in 100 different directions. Every time you open your phone, every time you scroll, every time you compare your life to someone else's curated highlight reel, you're slowly drifting away from your center. Not all at once, not in a dramatic way, but inch by inch, thought by thought. You start questioning yourself, you start doubting your timing, you start thinking maybe you're behind, maybe you should be further, maybe you missed your chance. But none of that comes from truth, it comes from distraction. And distraction always breeds distortion. You know what's real? The moment you get quiet. The moment you put the phone down, shut the world out, take a breath, and ask, what do I actually want? That moment is real, that voice inside you is real, that pull towards something better, something more aligned, something more meaningful, that's real. But it can't get through the noise, it can't compete with the chaos you let in every day. That's why you feel stuck, not because your dreams are too far away, but because your focus is too spread out. You've been taught to chase everything except your own peace, and now you wonder why your progress feels slow. It's not that you're not capable, it's that your energy is leaking into too many places that don't matter. The human brain isn't built for this kind of overload. You weren't designed to digest 100 opinions before breakfast. You weren't designed to compare your body, your income, your success, your love life, your home, your entire identity to a million other people in one scroll. But this is what's happening, this is the trap. It's not that you've failed, it's that you've been distracted from what actually makes you powerful. Your attention is the most valuable currency you have, and if you give it away carelessly, you'll always feel like something is missing. Because something is, you. Your attention is gone, and with it, your clarity, with it, your drive, with it, your belief in your own pace, your own timing, your own journey. So how do you take it back? Not by working harder, not by adding more to your to-do list. You take it back by slowing down and focusing again. You take it back by creating space. You take it back by deciding that your energy is too precious to waste on things that don't grow you, inspire you, challenge you, or support your goals. You start removing the distractions that have convinced you you're not good enough. You stop consuming content that leaves you feeling empty. You stop letting the noise decide what's important, and you start tuning back into what you know is true for your life. Because the moment you do that, really do it, you realize something: you're not late, you're right on time. Your journey didn't get derailed, it just got paused because your attention was hijacked. And now that you're aware of that, you can reclaim it, you can realign, you can refocus on what truly matters, not just what's loud or trending. And when you do, you'll notice your energy shift. Your confidence will come back, not because you suddenly became better, but because you finally stopped scattering your power in 100 places that never deserved it. And I get it, it's hard to pull away. It's hard to not look at what everyone else is doing. It's hard to not feel like you're being left behind when you see people posting their wins, their trips, their progress. But you have to remind yourself, what you're seeing isn't real. It's curated, it's edited, it's a snapshot of someone's best moment on their best day. It's not the whole picture, it's not the late nights, the doubt, the failures, the breakdowns, the mess behind the scenes. And it's definitely not a timeline you should be living by. You have your own, and the more you respect your own path, the more peace you'll find in the process. That's what growth is. It's not loud, it's not always visible. It's quiet focus, it's daily discipline, it's choosing to stay in your lane, to move forward even when nobody's clapping, even when the results haven't shown up yet. It's knowing that slow progress is still progress. It's trusting that every day you show up for yourself, even in the smallest ways, you're building something bigger than what the world can see. And that matters, that counts, that's real. You don't need to be everywhere, you don't need to know everything, you don't need to do what everyone else is doing. What you need is presence, what you need is clarity, what you need is less noise and more intention. Because when you clear the distractions, you create space for discipline. When you stop rushing to catch up, you realize you were never behind, you were just distracted. And now that you see it, you can fix it. You can protect your energy, you can choose better inputs, you can design a routine that fuels your focus, not your fear. So breathe, reset, pull your attention back to center. You're not falling behind, you're learning how to come home to yourself again. And once you do that, you'll never chase timelines that don't belong to you ever again. Chapter 9, Emotional pain is the signal, not the problem. You don't have to keep pretending you're fine. You don't have to keep smiling through the pressure. You don't have to keep swallowing your truth just to be accepted, to be understood, or to be liked. Emotional pain isn't weakness, it isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a signal. It's your mind, your body, your spirit trying to tell you something in the only language it knows how to speak. That ache in your chest, the tightness in your throat, that heaviness you've been carrying for weeks, those are not problems to be fixed, they are messages to be heard. And when you finally stop trying to silence them, when you stop seeing your emotions as the enemy, you'll begin to understand that everything you feel is pointing you back to something that needs to be seen, processed, and set free. You are not weak because you feel deeply, you are not broken because you're hurting. The truth is, the reason it hurts so much is because you're no longer able to lie to yourself. That version of you who kept avoiding the conversation, avoiding the reflection, avoiding the truth, it can't survive anymore. And your emotions are the fire burning through that layer of denial. You feel what you feel because you're becoming more aware, not less. And that awareness is a gift, that pain is a doorway. But most people don't see it that way, because the pain is uncomfortable. It's loud, it interrupts your routines, it slows down your productivity, it messes with your focus. So instead of leaning into it, you numb it, mute it, run from it. You scroll to avoid thinking, you overwork to avoid feeling, you stay busy so you don't have to sit with the truth. But emotional pain isn't going anywhere just because you hide from it. All it does is get buried deeper until it shows up in other ways: anxiety, anger, burnout, physical illness, toxic habits, broken relationships. That's what happens when you treat pain like a problem to escape instead of a message to listen to. You disconnect from your own wisdom, you disconnect from your own healing. But when you shift your mindset and decide to lean in instead of pulling away, everything changes. The pain becomes less terrifying. You stop labeling yourself as sensitive or dramatic or too emotional. You start realizing that you've just never had the space to actually feel without judgment. And now that you're aware of it, you can finally break the cycle. You can stop trying to rush past the discomfort and start asking better questions. Why does this hurt so much? What am I really afraid of? What am I avoiding that I need to face? That's how you take your power back. That's how you stop letting the pain control your reactions and start letting it guide your transformation. And the truth is, emotional pain always shows up for a reason. Sometimes it's from your past, something unresolved, something unspoken, something that was never acknowledged. Sometimes it's from the present, a boundary being crossed, a value being ignored, a truth being silenced. Sometimes it's about your future, a fear of failure, a fear of rejection, a fear of not being enough. Whatever the reason, the signal is clear: something inside you needs attention, something needs healing. And you will never fully detox your mind until you create space for that emotional process. Not by fixing it, not by forcing yourself to get over it, but by slowing down long enough to feel it fully, to let it move through you, and to let it teach you what it came to teach. You were never meant to carry everything alone. You were never meant to smile through the weight of the world. You were never meant to suppress what you feel just to appear strong. Real strength is not holding it all in, real strength is having the courage to face your own truth with honesty, to sit with the pain without needing to distract yourself, and to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to be here with myself anyway. That level of emotional presence, most people never give themselves that gift. They're too busy pretending, performing, pushing everything down. But that's not the life you want, that's not the kind of peace you're chasing. You want real peace. It doesn't come from avoiding the pain, it comes from walking through it and realizing it didn't destroy you. It comes from facing the memory that used to break you and realizing you've outgrown it. It comes from feeling the sadness, the anger, the fear, and then choosing to act with clarity instead of reacting from the wound. That's emotional maturity, that's self-leadership, that's mental freedom. And maybe you've never been taught how to do that. Maybe you grew up in a home where feelings weren't allowed. Maybe you were told to toughen up, to stay quiet, to suck it up. And now, as an adult, you struggle to name what you feel, you struggle to know what to do with it. You spent years disconnecting from your emotions, and now you wonder why you feel numb, lost, or overwhelmed. That's not a flaw in you, that's the system you were raised in. But you're not stuck there. You can learn a new way, you can reconnect, you can rewire. It starts by allowing yourself to feel without judgment. To cry without calling it weakness, to pause without calling it laziness, to rest without calling it failure, to feel the full spectrum of your emotional experience and know that every part of it is valid. Because healing isn't about always being happy, it's about being whole. And being whole means making room for every emotion, not just the ones that are easy or pleasant. So if you're feeling heavy, if you're going through something, if the weight of life has been sitting on your chest, please understand this: your emotional pain is not here to punish you, it's here to awaken you, to reconnect you to yourself, to pull your attention back to what matters, to remind you of the truth that got buried underneath all the survival. You are not too emotional, you are not too much, you are not unstable. You are simply human, and you are allowed to feel, you are allowed to heal, and you are allowed to be fully present with every part of your journey, especially the parts that hurt. Because once you stop running from your emotions and start respecting them as signals, not problems, your entire world begins to shift. You become more grounded, more compassionate, more present. And from that place, real healing begins, the kind of healing that's not performative or shallow, but deep and lasting. The kind of healing that allows you to move forward with strength, with wisdom, and with peace that no one can take from you. Chapter 10: You can't build a new life with a broken identity. The shift you're looking for won't come from changing your habits if you're still holding on to the identity that created them. The transformation you crave will never stick if the version of you doing the work is still silently loyal to the same old story about who you are. You can work hard, stay busy, stay disciplined, but if you keep seeing yourself as the broken one, the failure, the doubter, the person who never finishes, the one who always messes things up, then your actions will always bend to match that identity. Because your identity is the blueprint, and your behavior is just the house being built on top of it. You can't build something stable if the foundation is cracked. You can't build a new life if your mind still thinks you're the same person who doesn't deserve one. That's why progress feels hard sometimes. That's why you can do everything right and still feel like nothing's changing. Because somewhere underneath all that effort, all that hustle, you haven't truly decided to become someone new. You haven't upgraded your identity. You're still showing up with the weight of who you used to be. You're still looking at your life through the lens of old failures, past pain, and past patterns. And as long as you see yourself through that lens, you'll sabotage anything that doesn't match it. You'll delay, procrastinate, shrink, doubt, question, and give up, not because the goal is too big, but because it doesn't fit the image you're still carrying around inside. Want to know why some people never change, even when they want to? It's not because they don't try, it's because they're trying to change the outcome without changing the identity. They're chasing success but still calling themselves lazy, they're looking for love while believing they're unworthy, they're trying to be disciplined while still carrying the belief that they're inconsistent. And your brain doesn't want to live in contradiction, it wants to match what you believe about yourself. So if your actions don't line up with your identity, your mind will pull you back to what feels familiar, even if it's painful, even if it's toxic, even if it's miserable. That's the power of identity, it creates gravity, and it keeps you stuck in patterns you don't even realize you're repeating. But here's the breakthrough, identity isn't fixed. It's not a life sentence, it's not something you were born with and stuck with forever. It's programmable, moldable, changeable. You built your current identity through repetition, through things you heard, experiences you lived through, choices you made over and over until they became your story. And if you built it, you can rebuild it. You can uninstall the old version of you and replace it with a new one that aligns with the life you actually want to live. And no, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts in small, quiet moments. When you wake up and instead of saying, "I'm tired," you say, "I'm becoming stronger." When you mess up and instead of saying, "I always ruin things," you say, "I'm learning how to recover faster." When you feel the urge to give up and instead of saying, "That's just who I am," you say, "This is who I used to be." You speak it into existence before it becomes real. You declare it before you believe it. You become it through repetition, because repetition is what rewires identity. You need to talk to yourself like someone you actually believe in. You need to tell your mind where you're going before it defaults to where you've been. You can't keep repeating the same script and expecting a different result. You can't keep calling yourself broken and expect to feel whole. You can't keep dragging old shame into new seasons and expect to feel free. This is the turning point, when you stop waiting for your life to change and start becoming the person who can hold that change without falling back into the past. Everything you do, every choice you make, every standard you set, is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. That means your habits are not just habits, they're declarations. Every time you show up for yourself when it's hard, you're telling your mind, "This is who I am now." Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're rewriting the old story. Every time you set a boundary, every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy one, every time you show up with integrity, you are shifting your identity from the inside out. And eventually, it sticks. It becomes real, not because life got easier, but because your mind stopped dragging you back to who you used to be. You stopped arguing for your limitations, you stopped protecting your comfort zone, you stopped living small just to stay consistent with a version of you that doesn't even reflect your truth anymore. You don't have to become someone else to change your life, you just have to strip away the false stories you've been told and the false beliefs you've accepted. You have to upgrade the way you see yourself. And that upgrade doesn't come from other people validating you, it doesn't come from waiting until you hit the goal. It starts when you choose today to stop identifying with what broke you and start building from a place of power. You are not who hurt you, you are not the failures, you are not the mistakes, you are not your lowest moment. You are who you decide to be right now. And when that decision is strong enough, consistent enough, repeated enough, it becomes who you are. So make it clear, make it bold, make it undeniable. Be the one who rewrites the story, be the one who shows up differently, be the one who breaks the loop. Because the life you want is waiting on the other side of that new identity, and you can't keep dragging the old one with you. You've outgrown it, now it's time to act like it.